Names are sacred, Wenwu. They connect us not only to ourselves, but to everyone who came before.
There's a quote I really like that summarizes in a very smart sounding way why being Asian can f***ing suck balls. The collectivist orientation of the South Asian culture promotes the primary importance of the welfare of the family. Individuals are expected to sacrifice their personal desires to ensure the well-being of their families when individual and group goals conflict. The key words being to sacrifice their personal desires.
I always know where my children are.
I can't speak for everyone, but I was brought up exposed to some pretty backwards conservative values when it comes to family and self-identity, where you're taught to be unhealthily emotionally dependent on your parents, even past your childhood, and therefore see individualization as an act of disrespect. I imagine this is what went through Shang-Chi's mind when he was running away. I mean, yeah, there's also the minor part of him being turned into a 14-year-old murderer, but he's also actively disinterested and to an extent running away from his culture. He doesn't believe in magic, he doesn't really listen to his mate's grandma.
Are you sure that White Gong's allowed to take Funyuns and cigarettes back to the afterlife?
Shang-Chi and Katie are second-generation immigrants that are directionless in life. They drive other people's cars and avoid self-examining with karaoke. But then, at the end of the film, they go to Ta Lo, a relatively beautiful ancient Chinese village with dragons, magic, and TVB actors. It's here that they're taught to take focus with who they are.
I am but a transitory vessel for the infinite wisdom of a creature far more advanced than we will ever truly understand.
I think if I had to summarize this film's main message, it's about learning to aim your life by finding where you stand, and that requires accepting who you are. Shang-Chi makes sense of the trauma inflicted by his father by going to his mother's home and discovering his heritage, and that heritage is what contextualizes every part of him, the crimes of his father, the love of his mother, and who he is in life, not just from what he's running away from.
You are a product of all who came before you. The legacy of your family, the good and the bad. It is all a part of who you are.
I have to save her. She's calling to me.
Stop hiding, nephew. It only prolongs the pain.
Wish that were true. Dad, please. Your family needs you.
And it's with this acceptance that he has the strength to not only beat his father Wenwu, but for their last moments, he talks some sense back into him. Wenwu is a fuck who worships conservative ideas of names, legacies, and so after the death of his wife, he doesn't treat his children as people, but as objects in his legacy. He takes pride in his son's dehumanization.
I told my men they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. Glad I was right.
Pays no attention to his daughter Xiaoling, even though she's the more worthy heir she is actually experienced in building and running an empire. And for some reason he speaks Mandarin as opposed to Cantonese, even though he's supposed to be like ancient and Mandarin is the younger language. However, he also knows that deep down inside, none of this is important in the face of simply being a family. What the f? Because the happiest he ever was when he gave it all up, gave up his empire to be with their mother, but losing her to his old enemies undid his progress, and now he shields himself from the pain by being the same old asshole as he was before. Someone who's willing to burn his wife's village to get what he wants.
And what happens if they don't let you open the gate?
We'll burn their village to the ground.
There's a moment where Wenwu stands alone. He hesitates, but he hears his wife's voice. He wishes he could restore his family, but the irony is that this flicker of hope he's holding on to was always there in reality with his children. This is all expressed in climax without words, but with the simple visual symmetry of Shang-Chi tapping into the power of Ta Lo's protector like his mom and beating him with the same moves that he once fell in love with. Well, that came off way more incestuous than it. Wenwu, to a large extent, is the metaphor that anchors the film's themes. He represents the worst characteristics of overbearing, guilt-based and exploitive Asian social and cultural values, to the point that his abusive training did more damage and caused more mental trauma for his son than even the death of his mother.
By the time I was 14, I could barely remember what life was like before she died.
So when Shang-Chi is powerful enough to take his father's rings from him and decides to throw them away to speak to him as his son, this is the moment where Shang-Chi is no longer controlled by his father or their shared painful past, but by the knowledge and acceptance of all he is. As a result, before Wenwu dies and passes rings on to his son, Shang-Chi remembers all the moments his father was there for him. Even during all of the abuse, there was genuine love. As the director, Destin Daniel Cretton, said, he finally sees his father and mother inside him. Shang-Chi doesn't hate his father, he doesn't, love him, but he is him. He's all the bad, but he's also all the good that's inside him. And it's by practicing and learning from his culture he develops the ability to understand the totality of all he is. Shang-Chi In other words, being Asian isn't so bad.
I was out of town to find myself a way to get myself out of this world. You were not about, and I blame myself.
Your pitch for a Prey/Predator sequel. Be Predator versus Abraham Lincoln. If that's too much, then it'd be Predator versus Margaret Thatcher. If not, then it'd be set during the Great Emu War in Australia, where it starts out between Predator versus emu hunters, but the big twist is that the big Arnold Schwarzenegger lookalike gets killed. And it's the emus, who are in large numbers, that hunt down the Predator and are the ones that kill him. It's pretty sick, I know, right?